Welcome to Longevity Performance. I'm Ted Cox. I'm not here just to throw information at you. I'm here to enable you to train smarter, live stronger, and perform longer. This show is about what it really takes to build capability that lasts, in the gym and in life. Today, we're diving into a topic that defines the foundation of everything we do: longevity performance. This isn't just about living longer, it's about performing longer. Staying strong, capable, and confident for life. I've always found it odd when people lose confidence in their bodies as they age. Even when I was younger, I noticed it wasn't the body that gave out first, it was the level of activity and practice that dropped off. People stop moving, they stop challenging themselves, and that's when decline really starts. There's more information out there than ever, but it's also more confusion. Longevity gets tossed around like a buzzword, just like supplements, recovery gadgets, biohacks, but the foundation of longevity itself hasn't changed. Strength, movement, and consistency are still the difference makers. That's what we really are here to unpack, the principles that actually last. So for a personal story of mine, my dad growing up was an active laborer. He worked long physical days, but never really trained himself. He didn't have a plan to maintain his own fitness and balance out his stress of work. In his late 30s and early 40s, I started to notice his energy wasn't the same. When I wanted to play, run around, or do something demanding, he couldn't keep up like he used to. Now that I'm nearing the same age or about the same age, the contrast is clear. I'm stronger, more balanced, and more athletic than I've ever been. And that's not to say he wasn't a great father. He absolutely was. He worked hard, provided for us, and was intentional with his time. But now I see it differently. Taking care of yourself doesn't take away from others. It helps you be there for them. That's what longevity performance really is. Not being the hero once, but staying capable enough to keep showing up. We've all been told our physical ability just falls off a cliff as we get older, but the truth is, we don't decline nearly as quickly as we think we do. For people who stay active, speed and power only drops about 0.5 to 1% per year between the ages of 35 and 60. The real decline doesn't start until we're around 70. That means the slowdown most people feel in their 40s and 50s isn't aging, it's adaptation. The body follows the stimulus you give it, so if you don't give it any, it's going to adapt to no stimulus. Think about people you know who still stay active versus the ones that don't. The difference isn't luck, it's behavior. The active ones keep moving, even when it's inconvenient. The small choice compounds year after year. So one story I kind of wanted to get into is it's one of the craziest feats I ever saw, and it was from a guy that was in his late 60s or early 70s. I'm not sure. He was the mentor of the gym owner I worked for at the time, and he was visiting for the day. He'd been lifting for decades, but didn't look like a physical specimen. He just looked like an older, regular guy off the street. So the difference was you could tell he was a little bit more attentive and aware than most people his age with everything that was going on. That day, we were working on max effort lower body, and we were working up to a fast single on deadlifts after doing a heavy squat. He lifted with us. We did 135, 225, 315, and 365. The 365 looked a little rough for him, but it was still impressive for someone his age and build. Then we loaded 405 on the bar. He walked up to it, pulled a few inches off the ground quickly, and then grinded it the rest of the way up. It didn't look pretty, but he got it. By no means am I promoting bad form or pushing through at all costs, but this guy at his age picked up 405 and walked away from it completely fine, nothing out of line, and not hurt. That in itself is extremely impressive. That's the kind of durability we're striving for. Maybe not picture perfect form every time, but a body that's trained and reinforced enough to handle life's challenges for decades. So my business, Agoge Performance, it comes from the Spartan Agoge. This is a system that built capable, disciplined, and resilient warriors. Spartan soldiers couldn't retire until they were 60 years old. So think about that for a second. This is an entire culture that expected physical readiness and discipline into what we now call retirement age. Their training started when they were just 7 years old, where they learned discipline, endurance, and skill under pressure. And these traits carried through for 5 decades of service. That's the kind of durability that wasn't built on hacks or shortcuts. It was built from repetition, structure, and necessity. They didn't have the modern day comforts we take for granted today, like air conditioning, memory foam beds, and machinery that makes daily tasks easy. Part of their strength existed simply because life demanded it. So now that we fast forward a couple thousand years and we've built a world designed for convenience, each generation has gained comfort, but lost a little bit of natural capability along the way. So myself, I kind of consider myself blessed that I was born in 91, so right between the analog and digital worlds. So I remember rolling down the car window by hand, slamming heavy tailgates, and moving old box TVs that easily weighed between 50 to 100 pounds. So back then, even though that wasn't that long ago, it required effort, and that effort quietly kept people strong. But now that we have automatic doors, self-driving cars, and curbside groceries that are loaded right into your car, it's great technology, but it's taken away countless of small opportunities for us to move. The truth is, life no longer demands physical capability from most of us, which means we have to choose it on purpose. So that's where training is a deliberate decision to keep earning what the world no longer requires. So for most of us, when we start talking about physical activity, there is a clear distinction between working out and training. The big difference between working out and training is when you're talking about working out, it's typically random. You show up, you move, sweat, and then you leave. It feels good in the moment, but it doesn't always move you forward. Boot camps are a good example of this. There's loud music, high energy, and instructors who mean well, but are often teaching movements they saw online the night before. There's effort, but not always direction. A structured strength program, on the other hand, is built on intent. It's guided by someone who understands progression and how to balance hard work with purpose. They know how to make training serve a goal instead of just filling time. That's the difference between working hard and working smart, between sweating and progressing. So a perfect example of this was back when I was a pole vaulter in college. So I had a coach that was a really good technical guy, and he actually held the school's outdoor record and still does to this day. He was technical in the event itself, but didn't always see where the physical preparation fit in or how it should. So at the time, that was very common, and it still is with a lot of programs today. Sports performance has come a long way, but there's still quite a bit of work to do when we talk about sports performance and the sport coach. So at the time, my pole vault coach was doing title boxing classes for his own training and thought it would be good for us to try out. To his point, it was a tough workout. It made you sweat and work hard, but it didn't translate to what I needed specifically for pole vaulting. So as a strength coach today, now I have the knowledge to be able to break down the movements and experience it from both sides, so I can see where I went wrong. My general strength at the time was solid. It helped me maintain position and have a great takeoff at the bottom of the pole vault. But I lacked the core strength and low back strength to transition into a full inversion at the top of the vault. That missing link easily cost me 1.5 to 3 feet, which is quite a bit when you're pole vaulting. What I really needed at the time wasn't a boxing workout that left me feeling exhausted. It was a structured training program that focused on my weak points and would actually transfer into performance. So when I'm talking about longevity performance, we're going to be thriving, not striving. So the goal isn't just to survive, it's to thrive. You don't want to be the person that says, I used to do that. You want to be the person who still can. Thriving starts with mindset. So stop asking, what do I need to stay healthy? And start asking, what can I do to keep improving? Because the second you stop challenging yourself, you start going backwards. You don't lose the ability because you age, you lose it because you stop practicing. Age isn't taking it away from you, you're handing it over. Honestly, look around. How many people do you know that are in their 40s, 30s, or even 20s who can't run, lift, or move without discomfort? It's not aging, it's straight up neglect. So training isn't about looking good for the summer. It's about keeping the freedom to live fully, to hike, play, lift, or handle life's curveballs without hesitation. I knew from the start that the numbers wouldn't last forever. What mattered was the discipline behind them. My goal wasn't never to chase a single high point, it was to build the kind of consistency that could last for decades. Mastery comes from showing up with intent even when motivation fades. That's what creates longevity, not in training, but in how you live. Longevity performance isn't just something I coach, but it's something I live by. I played football and ran track all the way up through college at a Division III level. So by no means was I a phenomenal athlete, but I took it to the highest level I could. And when that chapter of my life ended, I didn't stop training, I simply shifted my purpose. I wasn't training for competition anymore, I was training for life. And to this day, I can still squat and deadlift over 500 pounds, and that's more than 10 years later. That didn't happen by accident. It wasn't luck or genetics. It came from consistency and intent. As a strength coach, or any professional for that matter, you really have to practice what you preach. There were times I wasn't my strongest or my most motivated, but I still showed up, simply because I knew those low points were temporary. And as long as I kept working, I'd stay capable enough to do what I love. My training today doesn't look the same as it did a decade ago. It's evolved. As my body and goals have changed, I have had to identify new weak points, the areas that limit my performance now, not the ones that used to. Each phase demands a different level of precision. That's how you keep progressing, not by doing more, but by adapting better. Longevity isn't about holding on to your best numbers, it's about training with precision, knowing when to push and when to pull back. It's adapting intelligently so you can keep performing without burning out. You don't have to be at your peak forever, you just have to stay capable. Most people never stay consistent long enough to see how capable they really are, but if you do, your capacity will still surprise you. Longevity performance isn't about chasing youth, it's about maximizing capability at every stage of life. Whether you're 25, 45, or even 65 years old, the principles don't change. Train with intent, stay consistent, and commit to the long game. So there's a quote I've always liked that kind of demonstrates this, is that we drastically overestimate what we can do in 1 year, but we severely underestimate what we can do in 5. This couldn't be any truer in training. Everybody wants results now, but the real payoff comes from stacking small, consistent years of work. So that stacking small, consistent years kind of reminds me of what Bill Henginger, the founder of Rogue Fitness, would do on his Instagram. So he would post a photo of a rock or two on the ground with no caption. It was just in the middle of the desert, like no context whatsoever. He kept doing this over a few weeks and a few months of the same exact spot, but over time, the little pile became a mound that was a few feet high. This wasn't a stunt, it was just a quiet way to show consistency. Add a rock, come back later, and add another one. Training works the same exact way. One focused session, one quality set, and a short walk after dinner. On a given day, it doesn't look like much, but over months and years, it becomes obvious. That's the payoff with longevity. Steady work that adds up. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this episode, it's this. Don't train for now, train for later. Every smart rep today is an investment of how you will be 10 years from now. Don't just add years to your life. Fill those years with strength, confidence, and the ability to perform. And if you're ready to start taking that step to build longevity through purpose-driven training, visit agogeperformance.com for more resources, coaching, and ways to get started. Train with purpose, perform for life. Next week, we'll dig into a question that is almost on every lifter's mind or weekend warrior is how strong is strong enough? Because longevity isn't about chasing maxes forever. It's about knowing where your strength actually serves you.